Good morning. Morning, how are you? Hope you're doing well. It is, let's see, turn around here. It is still quite cloudy. The sun broke out for a little bit. Get this camera to adjust here. And it's a pretty nice day. Quite breezy. These weather patterns that they've got engineered are, rather intriguing. Anyway, it was rainy off and on yesterday. Yesterday was Wednesday. Today is Thursday the 20th. Tomorrow will be the 21st, and it will be the 52nd lap around the big campfire for me. Woohoo! Amazing how time goes by and all the things that change. And so yesterday, I got ahead of you folks. Yes, I did. Look at this. I got ahead of the video. And so, let's talk about it. Today is going to be part 7. This is part 7 of the Apple Press build. And, every now and then, it's nice just to come out here and get in the zone, just kind of zone into what you're doing and not have to worry about narrating it or videoing it or anything like that. And that's what I did since T was at the market all morning, taking all our plant starts and trying to get people, I tell you what, the comments we get from people, well, I'm not doing a garden. I don't do gardens. I go to grocery store. Okay, that's good for you. But while she was there, I figured I'd just zone in on the assembly, and it's a good thing I did because there were some challenges in putting these together. There's always challenges. So we got the 3 different units. I've got a unit that I'm doing for myself. The unit, Dawn, that would be yours. And then one more to sell. And takes a bit of time to do some precise measuring and holding and clamping and drilling and pre-drilling. And I'm going to tell you what, oak is not an easy wood to work with like pine is. It's not as forgiving or easy enough to do things. And so you have to stay focused on what you're doing because little mishaps can happen. So oak being extraordinarily hard, I had 2 issues yesterday that y'all might want to think about. Remember I was telling you how I pre-drill everything because for one, I don't want to split the wood, and 2, I only want the teeth to hold. I don't want the center meat of the bolt to actually spread apart the wood and try and crack it. I don't want the splitting. So I've been pre-drilling everything. And even with that pre-drilling, the hold that the oak puts on the screws and bolts is very, very strong. Very, very strong. It will be very sturdy. Very strong and sturdy. So I started out by setting my front legs 2 inches off the corner there, corner here, and then the back legs off that corner and that corner. And then I'd center up and mark off my screws, and then I would pre-drill for that. Well, I'd gotten this one done, started on this one, and got the front legs set in, and I started in on the back and started running in the first screw. And the first screw got down to just as it was seating, and the head popped off. Yep, the head popped off. And you could say, well, torque driver might be a little bit much for it, but I don't know if I would be able to get the screws in with a regular drill without the impact of the impact driver. where is it at? These guys right here. I don't think you could just do it with a screwdriver or anything like that. You need the power to put it in. But stainless steel is pretty strong, but it still broke. So I had a dilemma. Dilemma is, do I really want to see a screw hole without the head on it? No, I don't. So how do you fix that? Well, I had not yet put the other screw in, which is good. But with the head popping off, the remainder of the screw that was going through the drain pan, the juice pan, was still holding the wood down to the lower brace. So I'm like, okay, well, let's just disassemble. Well, I hadn't yet put the upper rails on, so those weren't holding it, so it was just that screw. So I'm like, okay, this is easy. I can take out this lag bolt and the other lag bolt, and I can just spin off the lower brace off of the screw. So I get my driver, and I start to back out this lag bolt. And within a few impacts with the driver on the lag bolt, that bolt pops off. It breaks about... it broke about 3/4 of an inch. 3/4 of an inch inside the lower brace there. So, matter of fact, there it is right there. And there's the screw the head popped off on. Alright, so now I'm really frustrated. Tell you, things happen, and you got to know how to make it, repair it, fix it, take care of it in such a way that it's not noticeable. Well, being frustrated with that, I went ahead and took off the other one, which took my legs apart, and I was able to spin off, or literally screw through the rest of the wood with the lower brace just coming straight down. Then I could take a pair of pliers, I think I used the channel locks right there, and literally screwed the screw out just by grabbing a hold of the threads. That fixed that just fine. But we got a bigger dilemma. There was no way in the world that I am going to get the remaining part of that lag bolt out of that cross brace. So how do you do this? Well, the best way to do is to sneak in beside it with something a little bit better and stronger. So I tried, because you're looking at that cross brace. There's a hole going in it, and how about that? That far down in the hole is the lag bolt. So I tried to drill it out. So I got a drill bit, a little bit bigger than that one. And these lags are, kind of soft metal. They're not high-grade steel or high-grade metal for these bolts. So I started drilling it, and eventually it went down a little bit and then kicked off, because, wood's softer than metal, and the wood's going to eventually give it, and it did. So what I did was pre-drill for another lag bolt and literally went right in at a slight angle off to the side. If I hadn't told you that, you probably wouldn't know. But I tell you what, it was a challenge to think through how you're going to fix this so that it looks like it was never a problem to start with. So it was a good thing I was in focus and not, trying to video this, because you might have heard a different language. I might have been speaking in German or something like that, because I wasn't happy. But we did it. We got it, and by the time she got back from market, and I was done with all three of the assemblies to this point. Still got to do some touch-up. You can see where I've sanded down for the drill holes. But where are we at now? And that's the next step. So yesterday afternoon, I went through all my stack of wood to come up with the materials to move on to the next step. And let's talk about that now. today I'm going to start cutting out of here the decks, the upper decks where the scratter box will sit. I'll need a brace through here, which will be screwed in from the side. I'll need a brace through here, which will be screwed on from the side, and then several upper planks that go across here. I'll need to make that for all three of them. That will be the next step. And I don't think I've mentioned it, but maybe I will. Maybe I have, but let's do it now. As I get into cutting all these pieces, one of the things that I do when I get into the deck and the scratter box is each piece I'm treating as if it's its own part. In a lot of woodworking projects, you'll make your whole project and then you'll come back and finish it on the outside, right? That's generally the way you do it, right? Well, not this go at it. Every piece is treated as its own project. And when I go to cut these and screw these through, once I get them fitted, I'll take them back off and completely polycoat the whole thing. That way, because this thing is going to be exposed to apple juice and water, you will be able to clean it without there being significant issues of water getting in between the boards, wherever your joints are, getting in there, and being absorbed as much into the oak, and eventually dry rotting it or anything like that. So it also will help with the potential replacement of anything that might break for whatever reason, because when this scratter barrel is turning in here, there's a lot of pressure between the grinder barrel and the lower plate where the apples go through. That could see some wear over some years. You may want to replace that. I don't think it will be for a long time, but I'm just thinking long term. So if you have to replace a piece, each piece that we will be cutting and putting together should come apart cleanly and neatly, like you're just disassembling maybe something that was made out of metal or plastic or something like that, and not glued together. So these aren't glued together, and the planks, the decking won't be glued on. It will be screwed together and then coated. So like I said, for protection, for long-term durability. So the rest of the afternoon yesterday, T and I went through and we pulled out a lot of material and we planed it all down to a uniform thickness so that we can use it for the decking on the tops of these and to start using on the scratter box. These wider pieces here are 10, I think we ended up with 10 3/8. Those will be the sides of the scratter box, and then we got some other wider pieces for the different sides of the scratter box. You'll see that as we get going. So I think we got enough wood here. It's a lot of wood. You start adding all this up in the amount of board feet that we are using in red oak, and go to your Lowe's and start going cha-ching, cha-ching to that price. You would not believe how much money it would take you to buy this. And each one of these boards, like this board right here, if you had to buy it for at Lowe's, you're near $100 for that board just by itself, especially with the lumber prices going up. So all right, once we get the decks on, I'm not going to build the scratter box next. The scratter box need to be built to fit my grinder barrel. So the next thing I do is I'll be moving the shopsmith out here so that I can have some good light, and we'll be Making our grinder barrels. That's going to be a fun project in itself. That will probably take the better part of one day just to turn out the 3 barrels that we need for these projects. Might be able to get 4 of them out of there, I think. So anyway, that's the game for the day, is to cut these planks and get them screwed down and positioned. Not necessarily polyurethane yet. I don't do that until I'm done, which means that portion won't get polyed until I've got the scratter boxes built and mounted on the decking, so that everything is cut to place, because we're going to have to cut out the opening for the scratter box. And no sense in polying it until we're done with it. So we got a lot of steps to do here. I guess I will start working on this. I'll get back to you when I've made this step, so you can see what our progress is today. Alright, we'll be back in a minute. Alright, so I've got my miter saw set up here to start cutting out some of the pieces, and I've already got a few of them done. But when you talk about wanting to use your high quality wood and maximize everything that you can out of it, when you see a board like this that has, for all intents, I got some knottage here and a knot here, another one down here. I'm going to work around this to the best of my ability so that I can use this where it might not be used in another situation. So what does that mean? Well, quite simple. When we put these planks up there to make the deck, there's a portion of the middle that's going to get cut out anyway. So if I know that, then I can work around it. If this area is going to come out, then I might as well just use this plank and then take off these couple of knots on the end. This miter saw is not quite long enough. Finish the task on that. Now I can come in here and I can mark my 14 inches. Take a look. So that's 2 boards that I'm going to be using for the upper deck on this particular one. But since the scratter box is going to get cut out in here, like so, that's coming out of there. So we can use that board like maybe somebody else wouldn't. I love puzzles, and this is one way to do that. So I'm going to keep on keeping on. We'll get the rest of these cut. And shapow, just like that. Pieces cut, pieces cut, pieces cut. Now all I got to do is pre-drill and screw. So we'll have a lower skirt that goes in there on the front and back, and then the 2 pieces on the deckers. And these 2 pieces right here. Same thing here. Will go in just like that. Get screwed in there, pulled together nice and tight, and then we'll get it all on there to just sit here and wait for us to get the scrouter boxes done, which means we've got to do the barrels first so that we have them to position in the box as we're making it. So alrighty, all that's left to do, and it's probably going to take me a bit to do this, is get everything screwed down. So see what that looks like, and just like that, we got them on. Oh my goodness, I tell you, it is very, very strong, very strong. Once you get all this together, this is stronger than my oak shithouse, my oak barn. And I'll tell you what, it's also extraordinarily hard wood. I had another screw break on me, so that would not pull this down good because, well, the button head broke off of it, or not the button, but the bugle head broke off of that. So that's going to be a little bit of a challenge when I go to take these off, and all of this will have to get taken off to sand it down and polyurethane the whole thing. But I can't do that, or I don't want to do that, until I get this cut out for the scrouter box. So they'll just sit here. I'll move all this out of the way, and I think it's time to have some fun on the lathe. Yep. But first, it's lunchtime, so we'll catch you after lunch. Alright folks, it's a little bit after lunch, and well, I've done some rearranging. So I cleaned out my hole back here and moved my parts table over. I got the 3 press frames and stuff moved over and stuff cleared out. Oh, also I could get to this thing, the Shopsmith. It has been 4 years since I've had a chance to even look at this. There was damage taken in the moving process, which I can show you right here. And I was not happy about this, but this piece would fit on the end where the tailstock. So this is the tailstock piece, and it would fit there, and it has a table. The table's still in the shipping container, packed away. And a quick word on prepping. Plenty of extra bits, blades, and so on and so forth. So I ordered so many of these that I could be able to work if you can't get them, considering supply chain issues. So, alright, so there's a little bit of some thinking through this I've got to do, because it's been 4 years. I got my tailstock right here. And this is the bearing stock, which means it turns freely, and it fits in there. This is the drive head that fits on there. I also have a non-turning tailstock, which is means basically the wood spins on that, which is a little bit of friction there. But so I'm getting set up. Pulled out my lathe tools, and I'm getting set up because it's been a while. I got to kind of rerun my brain through the process. Now, I did some measuring on this thing, and between the top and that knot, I've got more than enough to do 2 of them there, and well more than enough to do 2 of them between that knot. It's this pretty substantial knot, and I don't want it included in my turnings. I want, as mostly clean, clear, straight grain as possible. Ain't gonna be 100%, but big knots, we'll see what we can do. So I might be able to get 4 barrels out of it. So all right, Aaron, what do you got to deal with? What do you got to deal with? All right, so normally I would take a piece and I would turn it out, and I kept one as an example. This was actually going to be used. I had intentions to use that grinder barrel for my press with the pieces that I explained when we first started this process. However, now that I have that, we're going to do that. But I'm using this as an example. But here's the thing. What I would do is I would go ahead and I would chuck up or lock up a piece in here, and I'd turn it down into a nice pretty barrel, and then I would try and center and drill out the hole, because that 5/8 rod, which is one of those dudes right there underneath everything, that 5/8 rod needs to go through here and in the scratter box in order to drive it. And then you would, you have all the grinder screw heads that would be on this, and then you have a screw that goes through and acts as a pin or a shear pin through that 5/8 rod. But here's the thing, and this time I'm trying to rethink things, is, okay, I had a hell of a time necessarily centering the hole in here. And I could do an okay job, but it was almost inevitable, because I did not turn this out centered on where the hole was drilled, that there was always an eccentric off-center in the center to the outside hole. So once you get to spinning that barrel, even on the slightest, no shadow, even on the slightest, it wouldn't be centered. You will come say hi? So I'm debating, and I haven't debated. I pretty much made the decision that I want to, before I turn this stock, I want to go ahead and run a drill bit through that, so that I'm actually turning centered on the center of this, so that when I take it all down and I run the rod through there, the drive rod, that I really am centered equally to all edges, and then everything is aligned and centered. So I've been thinking about that quite a bit here, about how to go about doing that. It's not going to be easy by any means. So when I would drill this, because it's such a long barrel, and the average size drill bits, your average size drill bits, and this is a new set I just got, and then I got another set up here. Your average size drill bits, like those, or even these dudes, which are the bigger ones that I've got, even the 5/8 ones down here, they're not that long. So you can't run a hole all the way through them. So again, that's why I told you I bought these guys, and the biggest one there is that long. So that's what I'm going to try and do this go round. We'll take it step by step. I don't know how far I'll get. What I need to do is prepare this stock to go into the shopsmith, and I was hoping to turn two of them out together, because it would make it a hell of a lot easier. There's one of our girls. No, that's not one of our girls. It's a different kind of bee. But I keep thinking about it, and it might not be that easy to do. I might have to do only one at a time due to the length of the barrel and getting it up here. Now, my thinking is this. I think, where's my tape measure? Yoo-hoo! Oh, there it is over on the table. Hold on. Let's go back over here. So my thinking is this. Let's check this. If I look at that. Alright. It looks like the outside diameter of this, right where my thumbnail is 3/4 of an inch. Let's check the inside. It's looking like it's just under 5/8 of an inch here. If that's the case, then I could go ahead and put a full 5/8 inch bore through here, and that would sit snugly centered up on that, I think. How are we doing over here? Is that 3/4 as well? Yes, it is. So the outside diameter here is 3/4. But it's not really got a means by which to center up right there. So we want to think about this step by step. How do I keep it clean and true? Have this butt up on the drive so that these teeth can engage the wood. That can be centered. Maybe what I do is go ahead and cut my lengths, punch through with my little bit, or I need a little bit longer than that. Give me a flat surface, so I need to be on a drill press, so this is good and flat, and then I can go perpendicular. Punch through the center before I turn it, and step up the hole. As I punch through, I run my first small bit through first. So I have a through hole all the way through all of them, of the small bit, which will fit just nicely on this tip. Then I come back and I open up that hole to the 5/8 finish diameter, not going all the way through, which would leave me a tiny hole on one side to center that, and a 5/8 hole on this side to sit on here. That way, once I get drilled out and turned, it will be eccentric. It'll have the same center point. Thus, when I'm ready to, all I have to do is finish the 5/8 hole with a little bit of drill out at the bottom of it to clean out to the little hole that I've got. Thinking that's how I'm going to do it this time. Because like I said, I want to hire a quality piece of work every time I do this. Now, mind you, the ones I did before and I drilled through and I had the shaft go through it, they still operated properly, but because there was a slight offset in the shift of the centers, the center of the hole was not in the center of the turning, so it would cam, it would lope, it would and I don't want that. So we're going to try and do it better this time. I know it's a lot of thinking through this, but that's one of the things I hope to share with you, and how I think through my steps, so that if you're working on something like this, you can do the same thing. Because I will tell you again, my friends, for those of you who have not heard me on my channel, if we do not learn how to start building things here in this country, we're doomed. And production has to come back to local. It has to come back to local. So local production is imperative for us to have things that we want here. The idea that we can have everything made cheap in China is not going to work anymore. And woodworking is an art. Learning how to do this in such a way that you can get the piece that you need, and you don't have CNC machining, but you're doing it by hand. So I think I'm going to call this the end of this portion, because it's probably gotten kind of long, part 7. But I'm going to keep working so that I can just focus on what I'm doing here, so I can get the pieces I need. I've got the table saw set up. I'm going to have to run it off a generator. And by the way, I did plug this in to this inverter. This inverter doesn't quite like handling the power of that. So I'm going to have to run this off the generator in order to do my work, which will be loud and obnoxious, and I'll just have to get it done. So Been a long day, and I'm still got work to do, but I hope I got you caught up. We got a lot of work done since the last time, and we got the, obviously we got the decks on, and they look good. They just need to be pulled off and sanded once we can get the next steps done. So, lots of work to do, and love y'all for watching. Thank you for sticking with me and maybe learning a few things. And please give me that thumbs up. Leave a comment or something, something that helps the algorithms with YouTube so that maybe censorship don't hit this channel. Y'all take care. I will give you updates on the next one of my success or failures or learning lessons in how I'm doing this particular step differently this time. Y'all take care.